Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Edgar. You recognize Rich over here. We're with Phil Arias.
Oh, man.
What's up, Phil? Thanks for joining us, man. He's going to tell us a story about how he came in contact with the living God, Jesus Christ, and how he changed his life.
Well, before I was saved, I pretty much lived for myself. I didn't care about anybody else. So if my actions affected other people, I didn't care. All I cared about was me having a good time. And there's many ways to do that. I chose drugs, I chose alcohol, I chose parties and, the typical stuff. Pretty much what happened to me was I ended up becoming a drug addict. Yeah, not like some of the hard drugs, but just really couldn't get through a day without smoking some weed, and became a dumb stoner hanging out on the curb, drinking 40s. And
So right before you got saved, life had kind of just directed you into an addict.
I was an addict.
Trying to fill that empty hole like we've talked about before. You've heard Edgar talk about us trying to fill the empty hole inside of us, and that's a God-shaped hole, and you use drugs and alcohol on this world party scene, right?
Yeah.
For fulfillment.
Yeah.
One bad choice led to another, and before you knew it, you're on the curb drinking 40s.
When did you start your drug use?
Yeah, I think I was about 23 when I really started to really.
So high school and early on, it was pretty.
I was a good kid. I got good grades. I graduated from a private school.
Oh wow!
I was in college for a little while. Had a good job, but I just actually started hanging around with the wrong people. And they introduced me to some different ways of life, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Let me try that. Let me try that. Let me try. Like I didn't have any boundaries. Let me try anything.
Right.
And I ended up choosing weed, which became my drug of choice. And just that was my everyday.
It's funny how it works out that way. The Bible says bad company corrupts good morals.
It really does happen.
People can really tell who you are by observing who they are.
And like you're saying, that company comes with a path, and that path was leading you in a direction.
Yeah.
And so, and then further you went, the more you went in that direction.
Yeah, I even ended up selling weed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had that going on, and I was just trying to just have it in my life, and that was pretty much my entire life, just nothing but smoking weed every day, selling it, trying not to get in trouble while I'm committing crimes. I wasn't a criminal as a young kid, but when you're high, you'll do anything. You really don't care. It's a good time. Well, let me go rob this store. It sounds like a good time when you're high. It really does, but you might as well be going off a cliff, and that's where I found myself, just getting worse and worse. I remember parked in a parking lot, by myself. Usually, you're having a good time with people. I'm by myself.
Sure.
I'm like digging into cracks of my car, trying to pick up little nuggets of weed. I think there's one right there. I can smoke that. That's big enough. Using tweezers and trying to do that. That's when I'm like, wow, I got a problem.
It's kind of sad.
That's when I was young. That's what a picture of a druggie was. When they have that little tiny piece, they're trying to do that. That's what I was doing one day, and I'm like, what am I doing? It was really at that moment that I remember the high wasn't good for me anymore. I wasn't even getting high anymore. And it kind of culminated, and I just felt this weight that I was wasting my life.
So reality came in.
Yeah.
How exactly did you get saved? How exactly did God interfere with this path that you had taken, and how did you redirect it?
Well, I think like most people, I ended up coming to that point where I didn't like my life. I had brought all this drugs and alcohol, and those things had begun to destroy my life. I worked at In-N-Out. That was my first job.
Okay.
I really had a good time working there. It's a fun company. But what happened was, and when I was there in the beginning, I was a good worker. But halfway through that time when I was there, I started smoking weed, showing up high, and they had fired me after so much time of realizing that was in my life, and people didn't want to be around me. I had a girl that I was really interested in, and all of a sudden she didn't want to have anything to do with me, and I'm like, why? And then all these things were crashing down around me, and it just kind of makes you think, man, this is my life. And I just remember one day I had a pipe, and I was walking past a skate park, and I just was sick of it. I was sick of the life that I created, and I had believed in God my whole life. I wasn't really paying attention to Him at the moment, of course, but I believed in Him. So I just took a leap of faith, and I threw that pipe down. I said, God, help me. That's all I said. God, help me. You know?
So what did God do?
Well, it wasn't long after that. Not even months later. I had a new job because I just got fired. I had a new job working at a production plant, and my supervisor actually was a Christian. And you know, I was a Catholic. I thought I knew about God, but he really did. He began to tell me about Jesus, and
So God heard that prayer.
he totally did.
I mean, even from a druggie, even from somebody who was completely lost, completely hopeless, lost a job, totally dragged out by the life, you call out to God, God help me, and he does something. He puts somebody in your path. That's the coolest thing.
God sees this hopeless burner.
He did.
And I mean, Richie and I, we've been in the same place.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing to see that God is going to do the same miracle.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Yeah. He listens to our prayers, man. Sure enough, that guy that had Jesus already, he told me about it. And I thought I knew about it, but the more he began to tell me about the Christian view of who God really is, of what the Bible says, it began to click. And I'm like, wow, I haven't been serving God. I've been, you know, because when you're living like that, you can almost convince yourself, oh, I'm still a good person. You know, but the more I learned, the more I heard, I realized I was not a good person at all. I had sinned, and it really culminated in one evening when I was working at that job, which was a graveyard job. And so my lunch break was in the middle of the night, and I was in my car eating, you know, parking my car in the middle of the night on my lunch break. And he had given me a Bible and told me, read the Bible, read it, you know. And I began to read the Psalms, and the cool thing about the Psalms is you really see the beauty of God in it. In certain passages, you see how glorious God is, and I didn't even know what that meant, but
Catholic reading the Bible.
That's
not common.
We didn't have we had a Bible, but it was all dusty.
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean, I was reading the Bible that night, and I was so convicted about who God was, how good He was, and how not good I was. I was not good at all. And what even clicked even more was, you know, as Catholic as I was growing up, I did have a belief for God when I was a little child.
Sure. Yeah.
And somehow I really believe I connected with Him as a child.
Yeah.
But that somehow quickly went away as I grew up. But when I read those verses, I was aware all of a sudden of the same God that I knew that I had been rejecting my whole life.
Really cool.
The same God who loved me then loved me then at that moment. And I realized that I had been rejecting Him, and I didn't know how to repent. I just said, God, I'm sorry. I began to weep like uncontrollably in my car. Sure. And after I was done, I felt the forgiveness of God, man. I felt that God had washed me clean. I wasn't the same mess, even though nothing had really changed. God had changed me, and I felt it when I got out of the car.
Yeah, that's a great.
It was so wonderful.
Felt conviction that you repented for God in your own way without guidance. God honored that.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very good. So, tell us and those that will be watching this, you know, how your life has now moved away from that path of destruction, away from that path of addiction, to a different path, and what have you seen along the way, and how has your life completely been made new since God made Himself real again to you?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I reflect back on my testimony, every time I do, I always think about how bad it was. You know, I really didn't. At that moment when I called out to God, I hated my life. You know, if I didn't believe in God, I probably would have killed myself. You know, but I believed in God, and because of that, I kind of believed in hell.
It does keep you at bay.
Yeah, right. I believed that I shouldn't kill myself. So, so knowing how bad it was, and where God brought me from there in a moment of time, like how God had done that miracle in my heart, like feeling forgiven, feeling clean for the first time in so long. Like after I had that feeling, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I don't ever want to lose this. And so I just did my best to draw close to God. It wasn't long after that I found a church in the Father's house, and I was amazed at how these people were just so they had a vision. You know, I had this love for God, but I didn't have anywhere to place it. And then I realized, if you love God, you know what God's done for you, go do that for somebody else. Go show somebody else how they can be free. Yeah. And I just felt, okay, this is my opportunity. I'm so thankful for what God's done for me. This is how I'm going to thank Him. I'm going to give Him my life. This is the best thing I could think of. I'm going to give him everything I got for this, for whatever. And that became outreach. That became ministry. Whatever I could do to thank him for saving me. That's what I've been doing. I've just been holding fast to what we do, just trying to keep involved so that I can say, God, thank you for what you've done for me.
So you got a real heart of appreciation
I do.
for God. God makes himself real to you. He washes you clean. You have this revelation that you needed a new life. God gives it to you, and now you have a new revelation of moving forward in that new life and sharing it with others.
Yeah.
Just like myself and Edgar do. And that's what we use this medium is to get people's stories out like yours.
Yeah.
So that people know that, we have the opportunity to be right before God, and he is literally knocking at all of our heart's doors. Maybe it's a person who's bringing that message, or maybe it's a contact when we were a child that God uses to make that a reality and get a hold of our lives. What a wonderful story that is. So we appreciate you coming and telling us that.
Thank you for having me.
Man, what an encouraging story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
Richie and I
man,
can appreciate it more than you know. But how glorious that God can penetrate the life of a human being as a desperation. Totally changes. Yeah, it's forgiven.
We appreciate you coming out.
Thank
We
you.
have love for you.
Thank you for having me.
We'd love to see you out there, and we'll have you again.